Hey, welcome to the GuthrieAmerica podcast. We sit down with amazing people who do life in our community and who are from here because we believe every story should be told. I'm your host, Heady Coleman. Today I am sitting down with Owen, the legend. Because before we jump into this conversation with Gene, will you please go ahead and subscribe to the podcast and leave a review? It would mean the world to me. Gene, how you doing today?
I'm good, Heady. How are you?
I'm doing good. No complaints at all. Now, Gene, did you grow up here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that all of your life? What does that look like?
I was born and raised here. I had to leave town to find somebody that'd marry me. I lived in Perry for 5 years and then came back and taught school at Oklahoma Christian Academy for 10 years. And during that time period, we moved to Edmond for about 3 or 4 years and then moved back.
Okay. What year did you graduate high school from here?
1970.
1970. I'm trying to think. So my mom has 13 siblings, and so there's always one Coleman who falls in that pack.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think. 1970. I was born in 74. Did my mom graduate with you?
Could have
69, 70 somewhere. Esther Coleman.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say because she had me in 74. She's 21. So yeah. That's cool. And so then, what year did you leave out of Guthrie?
Well, I moved to Perry in 1973. Married my wife. We lived. She was from Perry.
Oh, okay.
And I moved to Perry. I was working at Ditch Witch.
Okay.
Up there, and so I moved to Perry in 1973, and we had our daughter, and then I moved back in 77, I think it was, when I worked for Ditch Witch out of Edmond.
Okay.
I moved from Perry to Edmond. So I lived here, and then when I started teaching school, I moved to Edmond to teach.
Okay.
I was there for 3 years.
Okay. So. Yeah, I didn't know that Ditch Witch was even in Perry until I started working at the chamber in 2015.
Yeah.
And learned so much about like the work that Ditch Witch was doing in Perry. And
I tell you what, it is a great organization when I was up there.
Yeah. People were speaking highly of it then.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. Now Guthrie's changed so much. What's one of the big things versus when you were in high school versus now? Like, what are some things that are pretty obvious in the change for you?
Well, I think we're a lot more mobile.
Yeah.
Than we were back when I was in high school. I mean, for us, a trip to Oklahoma City was a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't go to the city, you haven't lived. It's pretty different. So I miss some of the quaintness of Guthrie, but also love the fact that we're still a small community.
Yeah. I tell people that I feel like the town area per se is going to pretty much stay the same. I live over by the temple.
Right.
It can't grow any more than what it is, and so I think I will always have that as long as I stay in that area.
You bet.
But the outskirts of Guthrie, it's just going to keep growing.
Yeah. Well, I grew up. I'm living in the house that I grew up in.
No way.
Yeah. My mom and dad brought me home from the hospital in 1952.
Yeah.
To the house that I'm living in.
Wow. So you moved out of the house at some point, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever think like,
no,
I'm going to be?
No. My brother talked me into buying the house when my mom got sick and we had to put her in the nursing home. So we had to liquidate her assets, and my brother talked me into buying it. And I said, "Man, brother, I don't think I'm going to be able to live long enough to fix this thing up." He said, "Oh, I'll help you." Then he had a heart attack and died. So,
no way.
So I wound up. I still haven't forgiven him for that. But.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like you're still holding a little bit of unforgiveness with that.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, we still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
My wife made the mistake of saying, "Listen, if you'll just get me a bedroom and the kitchen and a bathroom, we can move in and then we can fix it up." We still hadn't got it fixed up. We've been there for about 12 years. So
Yeah. So Yeah, that's the thing about when people buy these houses or you go into a situation, you like, all right, we're going to get it and we're going to do X, Y, Z. And then life just gets to going. And if you're not intentional about it, it'll just be that way.
Yeah. Yep. My wife is just a saint. You know, she's put up with me, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. You just know she loves you, you know?
She must, because there's no way.
Now, how many children do y'all have?
We have two.
Two, okay.
Yeah. Stacy and Steven. Steven is, he lives in San Antonio.
Okay. What year did Steven graduate?
Let's see. 77, I think. That'd be right. No, wait, that's not right. No. Let's see. Stacy graduated in, I think he graduated in 94, I think.
Is he older than Stacy or younger?
Younger.
Younger,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know when Stacy graduated. I don't know. Let's see. She was.
Hopefully they won't listen to this.
Oh, it don't matter. They know I don't know anything, so it's all good. They just go, "Oh, Dad again." There he goes.
I'm pretty sure, and see, I feel bad too because I know Stacy went to high school. Like they both were in high school at the same time I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but I don't.
He graduated 4 years after Stacy did.
Okay, so she was 90.
Okay, so he graduated in 94.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if she was younger or older than me, but we were right there all together.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I'm getting to that place where I don't remember anything about my children.
Shoot.
When does that start? Did it start?
Well, I don't know. My memory's like my left arm. It's pretty short, so I can't remember anything.
See, only you can make that joke about yourself. You know,
I mean, listen, I don't mind. Anybody that knows me knows that's the truth. I tell people my memory's like my left arm is pretty short, and it's almost like my left hand completely gone. So we're good.
You're good. You're good. Now, tell me how did you go from working at Ditch Witch to teaching?
Well, it was a God thing. It really was. I left Ditch Witch and I was selling cars and stuff like that. I worked for John Vance for about 10 years.
Okay.
And I was selling cars, and God just moved me, you know. I got I got to be careful. I'll get real emotional. I've been going to church camp with kids, and I had some friends that were teachers down at Oklahoma Christian Academy, and they called me and said that they wanted to know if I thought that John Vance would let me work a half a day and then come down there and teach for a half a day.
Oh, okay.
At Oklahoma Christian Academy. So, no, I don't think that'll work. So I was telling my wife about that, and she said, "We need to go down there and check that out." I said, "Oh, okay." So I went down there, Heady, and it was a miracle. It was a God thing.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have any college, 0 hours of college. Okay. They said, "We'd like for you to come down and interview." Okay. So I filled out my resume and I handed it in. I came back and told my wife, I said, "Do I want to work for anybody that hires someone as ill-equipped as I am to do this job?" And so it was the easiest interview I ever had in my life. So they interviewed me and offered me the job, and I said, "Diane, I don't think we can live on what they're offering." She said, "Well, if we can get if we can get $500 more a month, I think we can make it." I said, "I don't see how." So I go to church the next Sunday. Minister calls me in. He said, "Hey, I understand they offered you the job down there at Oklahoma Christian Academy." His wife worked down there.
Okay.
I said, "Yeah." I said, Rob, I don't think we can do it. He said, well, listen, I talked to the elders, and they said that sorry. They said if you did that, they'd pay you $500 a month.
Wow.
As a missionary. Had no idea what had transpired in my conversation with my wife. So I went out and told her that. She said, well, there's our sign. Mm-hmm. So the rest is history.
Yeah.
That's how I got into ministry.
Wow.
So my wife's been very instrumental in my Christian walk.
Yeah.
As well as Stacy has too. She's the reason why I went out to church camp in the first place.
Oh, okay.
So both my kids have been very instrumental in my Christian walk.
Wow.
They're good kids. I'm blessed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry I get so emotional.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's good. So you end up teaching, and how long did you stay at OCA?
10
years?
10 years, yeah.
Okay.
I left there and I came up here. My wife said, when I told her, I said, I don't know what's going on, but God's moving me in a different direction. Mm-hmm. And I said, so I want to be receptive to that. She said, okay. What do you think you're going to do? I don't have any idea. So the preacher at our church called me in one day. Like I said, his wife was a teacher there. And he said, hey, I told him, I said, I think I'm going to do something else. What are you going to do? I don't know, but God's moving me in a different direction. So he said, just, okay. He said, I've been offered a job somewhere else, and I'd feel a whole lot better if you'd come in here and take this over, preach here at Guthrie. I was like, okay, God, that's not what I had in mind. So wound up, I did that, and I preached there for a couple of years, and in the process of preaching there, a companion approached me about being a chaplain. First place I said, okay, that's dealing with death, right? And they said, yeah. And I said, okay. I can't even watch a commercial without crying. I don't know how in the world I'd deal with this. But God took care of that, and so wound up, I went to work for a companion and was there for 20 years.
Okay. I was about to say, I feel like only thing I've known you as is companion.
Yeah.
As the chaplain, and wouldn't have put you with anything else, but of course.
Yeah. Had to get there first.
Yeah. So, one of the things I was thinking about with you, and again, we're probably going to be all over the place, but
that's okay.
I was thinking about your ability to care for people in your role, right? Yeah. Because you're going in and out of homes of people who've lost loved ones.
Yeah.
And I understand the Holy Spirit's role in your life and all those things, but what were some key things to help you manage that?
Once, like if I'd get a call and say that one of my patients had expired, I'd say, okay, and I might shed some tears right then. But once I got with the family, it's kind of like I had my game face on, mm-hmm. and I could function until I did my role, and then I shed some tears. So meeting with those people and being able to minister to them was one of the greatest things in my life.
Yeah.
As a minister.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that it takes some certain types of skills to be able to sit with people, even though you would think that it's the easiest thing, but there's a certain way to be able to sit with people and comfort them and care for them. And for somebody to have done it for 20 years, I was like, I just want to know what it, after 20 years, you probably got this thing down. I'm still learning how to do it.
Oh.
You know? And
Yeah, well, I learned every day.
yeah.
If you don't adjust and learn, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I was
And
very
everybody's
blessed.
different.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, for the most part, one of the things that someone told me is just that, just tell them I'm here to hurt with you. And that's some good advice.
Yeah.
Just sit there with them, and a lot of times they'll talk and you can just shut up. I'm not very good at shutting up.
But that is true. Like I feel like that's the thing that I lean in on is like trying to ask the right questions to get them to talking.
Right.
Because if you can get them to talk, and I think it kind of opens them up too.
Sure.
It places them in a place of comfort that they can get to talking, especially if you get them to talking about the stories of the people.
Right.
And getting them to connect that way.
Well, that was the best part of my job, was listening to the stories. I loved having them tell stories about their loved ones. Mm-hmm. That's what I like about doing funerals. Mm. People say, how in the world do you do that? I said, I'd rather do 20 funerals as one wedding. And they said, are you serious? I said, yeah. Weddings, everybody's on edge, and they're don't mess up and all this.
Yeah.
Funerals, they don't really they don't know a whole lot about doing a funeral, so they kind of leave you alone. Every guy's got an opinion on weddings,
Yes,
So.
everybody has an opinion. Yeah, I would much rather not do a wedding.
Yeah.
I would much rather not do a funeral too, but but you're probably right. I think I would take a funeral over a wedding.
Yeah. Most of the ministers that I know feel that way.
Yeah, yeah. Because it is so much, and you almost start feeling, at least I do, I almost start feeling sorry for the bride because they've taken on all this pressure for themselves, and then you start taking on pressure from the family and all these things. It's like, you're not even enjoying the moment.
No. And, I'd tell the groom, hey, listen, the sooner you realize this ain't about you, the better off you're going to be.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely not about him.
No.
Yeah, it is not about him at all.
So,
how many funerals do you think you've done?
Oh, I don't have any idea, Heady. I would say several hundred.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
know.
Does and this is like kind of weird to be talking about, but was there a funeral that stood out to you more so that is there one that's like, I'll remember?
Oh yeah, there are. There are some that are pretty comical.
Yeah.
Some that you just as soon not remember. But I probably doing a funeral. One of my very best friends was one that stood out to me. So those are hard, but yet they're easy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
you know them.
Yeah, and you can talk about them, but here again, I get real emotional, and so I have to be careful.
You have to work through that.
I do.
Yeah. As a minister in raising children, did you feel pressure for your children? Like,
No, not really, because by the time I got into ministry, my kids were pretty much grown.
got you.
So that wasn't a big deal. When I got into ministry, Stephen was, when I went to OCA, Stephen was going to be a senior.
Okay.
So only thing he was concerned about is I'm going to have to leave Guthrie and go down here and go to school at OCA. No, we're good.
He thought he was going to have to go with you, huh?
Yeah, so we didn't do that, and I'm thankful.
Yeah.
And I know he's thankful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very blessed. I was blessed with two great kids. Great kids.
Now, Stacy has how many kids?
6.
6 kids.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's it.
Are they?
She was married. She's been married twice.
Okay.
And Jamie and Stacy have 3. Jamie didn't have any kids when they got married.
Yeah.
This is his second marriage too.
Yeah.
So they had 3 kids, and she told him, she said, if we're going to have kids, we better get started because I am not going to be pregnant when I'm 40. So
Smart.
She was right.
Yeah.
They had their last kid in July in June, and she turned 40 in July. So
Oh, wow. She just made it.
she just made it under the wire.
She just made it under the wire. Tell me, how did you meet your wife?
I met her at the city jail. Serious. I was working at the police station, and my cousin from Perry came down to visit me. And she said, "You want to go see my cousin?" My wife said, "Yeah, sure." So she came down there, and for me, it was love at first sight. I'm sure it wasn't for her.
Okay.
But, yeah, the rest is history from there. She met me at the police station, and that was really the best day of my life.
She walked in, and it was like...
Yeah, I was smitten. She was best thing.
Do you remember your first date?
Yeah. Went to Perry, picked her up, brought her down here, and they had a dance at Mineral Wells.
Okay.
They had a band playing. We went to that.
First date, it was a concert, huh?
I wouldn't call it a concert. I don't think she called it a concert either.
What?
Yeah.
When you decided to marry her, did you ask her dad? Was that the thing?
Eventually.
What was that like for you? Like, I don't hear people talking about it as much anymore. It's like going to ask the dad.
Yeah. I don't really remember. I just said, "Hey, we're
doing this."
Yeah, basically. And I feel very, very fortunate. My mother and father-in-law are great people.
Yeah.
My father-in-law, bless his heart, is not here anymore, but my mother-in-law lives next door to us.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for that.
That's cool. How did you get the whole family to move to Guthrie versus staying in Perry? Normally you stay where the wife's at.
Yeah, well, I was working for Ditch Witch, and in order for me to work for them, I needed to live closer to Edmond at the time.
Okay.
Because I went to Ditch Witch of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And so we moved to Guthrie because that's where I was from, and so it was an easy transition for us. And then my mother-in-law, my father-in-law passed away, and she was living in Perry, but she would come down and help take care of Stacy's little ones. And she would do laundry and stuff for them. And she said, we kept telling them, Mimi, it'd be a lot better if you just moved down here, because all of her family, her other daughter lives down here. So it worked out to where we got her down here, and we're very thankful for that. Thankful that she lives next door to us.
Yeah.
That's a godsend.
Yeah. No, that's good. My mom and my mother-in-law both live in Guthrie, and it's the best thing for us because
Absolutely.
They're close by, and if they need something, they're right there. They're always at our house.
Yeah.
And so my dad and my stepmom, they don't live here, but I wish they all lived here closer, especially as they get older.
Yeah.
Because, you end up kind of start caring for them at some point.
Yep.
You don't want to, but it just kind of happens that way.
I tell you what, my mother-in-law is so independent. She's going to outlive us all, I think.
What did she take good care of herself? Is she active? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah. She goes to church every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Sunday night. She's very active.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
When you decided to retire, like, was there a health issue there, or did you decide to retire? And then what was your you're still young.
Thank you. I don't feel very young. No, I'd gotten in 20 years with Companion, and I was 71, and I just decided, I think I'm going to retire.
Yeah.
And my health was not doing too well. I couldn't walk very well, and then I retired in last September the 15th, and then found out that I was going to have surgery, and had surgery on October the 30th.
Wow.
So my people would ask, my wife said, well, how's his retirement? spending it at the doctor's. So
that's no fun.
No, well, no,
but you're getting taken care of though.
Hopefully, yeah.
No, that's good. I always like to ask, whenever you were in high school, since you grew up here, did y'all have a strip that y'all cruised?
Absolutely.
Did y'all cruise the strip?
Yeah. Maine, Oklahoma.
Okay.
We'd go for now back in the day. Okay, where let's see, I think it's Interbank where their drive-in is.
Okay, yeah.
There used to be a drive-in drink place. You get there's like Territorial in there for a while back, probably when you were young.
Yeah.
But it was a hamburger place, and so we would drive in there, go out, go down Division Street to Oklahoma, up to the Temple, turn around. That was everybody drove Maine. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
Drag Maine.
Isn't that incredible? Like 20, 30 years later, they don't do it now.
Right.
But when I was in high school, it's still the same strip, cruising the same.
Yeah.
Which is amazing that it's like no longer that they're doing that. I remember when I moved back to Guthrie and I remember my first time being out like at 10 to go to Lowe's or something or Walmart or something. And I'm like, where are the kids at on a Friday or a Saturday? Like, you're supposed to be cruising the strip.
Yeah.
But they don't do it anymore.
They don't. I had a cousin that was about my age, and she lived in Colorado, and she'd come down here in the summertime, and she just thought it was the neatest thing for us to go cruise Maine. This is so cool. It's just what we do. Not a big deal.
You don't have any other options.
No. No. But you're right. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. We had fun doing it.
Yeah, that's what I like, socializing, being able to connect with people.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't always do the right things for the most part, but it's still
Really?
at the same time. At the same time, it's the way you connect and fellowship and get to know each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I would tell my son all the time, like, why don't y'all just park right out there and let your friends come, text your friends, tell them to come hang out with you. He's like, what? That's weird.
Well, it wasn't at the time, was it?
No, it was not. No, not for us. It was not. It was not at all. Back in the day, they didn't have neighborhood elementary. You went to every school, right?
Well, when I was in school, I attended 1st through 7th grade at Cotterell.
Oh.
Okay. And then in 8th and 9th grade, I went to Fogarty. And then my senior year, they opened the high school. The new high school.
The new high school. It's still the new high school. It's still.
So that's what I tell people. Yeah, the new high school. And kids will look at me like, what?
The new high school. So you went to 1st through 7th grade at Cotterell?
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that was, I don't know what they would have called that at that time.
Just Cotterell Elementary.
Just called it? Wow. Yeah. I did not know that.
My 7th grade is the first year that they had all of the 7th graders go to Cotterell. So the 7th graders from all over Guthrie went to Cotterell.
Okay.
But the rest of the time they went to like Capitol, Central, Banner, and Page Elementary.
Okay. Now where's Capitol?
In the administration building.
Okay. The administration building was an actual school at one point.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I knew that either. And it was called Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
And were they elementary schools?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had 1st through 6th in those elementary schools.
Gotcha. So it's similar to today, but we don't go up to 6th grade. We go to 4th, I think.
Right.
For pre-K through 4th.
Right.
Is that all the schools now?
Right. We didn't have pre-K back in the day. We just had kindergarten.
Okay.
And it was in a building over there by, I went to kindergarten over there by Golden Age in a little building. You know where that church is across the street from Golden Age?
Yeah.
There's a little building back behind there. That's where I went to kindergarten.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I did not know that. See,
Yeah.
this is the reason I love doing this stuff. I get to learn all kinds of stuff. I did not know people were going to school behind that church. And so then for Banner, for me, was kindergarten.
Was it?
Yeah, pre-K and kindergarten back
Yeah.
in my day.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in your day, so there's
Yeah,
a
it
little
was-
bit of a gap there.
It was, yeah. Quite a gap.
Just a little bit of a gap
Yeah,
there.
there's a bunch of gaps.
Yeah. I always like to ask people, I'm about to have my first grandchild. And which one is better, having children or having grandchildren?
Grandchildren. you can just pretty much do whatever you want to with them and then send them home. And,
Yeah.
You know. Now I got a great grandchild. Steven's got
Okay.
got a grandson.
Okay.
His boy had a little boy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is there any difference between once they're great, they're staying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't. I wish that I got to see him more often, but he lives in San Antonio, so
Yeah, so you don't get to.
no, I
spend
don't
as
get to
much
see him
time
very
with
much.
them.
But when Steven's boys were little, we got to spend a lot of time with them.
Okay.
That was really worth it.
Yeah. No, I'm so grateful that my son lives in Guthrie. So hopefully he does not move. And so I will get to spend time.
Right.
If there is end up being more grandchildren, hopefully we keep them around and I get to. Now, how did you determine what name they were going to call you? Or did they just decide on their own? Did you get a choice in that or did you not care?
They just called me. Our grandparents have always been pawpaws.
Okay. So the tradition is Papa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out what I should have.
I think Stephen is not being called Papa. I can't remember what they call him though, but my great grandchild, he's gonna call me 3G.
Oh.
Great Grandpa Gene. So
Great grandpa. So just call you 3G.
yeah, 3G. That's it.
I like that.
Yeah, it works.
I like that. If I have people ask me all the time about moving to Guthrie, right? And so they're asking me what is it that I enjoy most about Guthrie? Why should they move here? Why would you say you enjoy Guthrie the most?
It's just it's like a big family, big family atmosphere. You know, we take care of each other.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
It's always been that way.
Yeah.
Now it's a little more. When I was growing up, if you messed up, your parents knew about it before you got home.
Right.
And when you got, if Mr. Smith down the street saw you messing up and decided to whoop you, you got a whooping when you got home. You know, I mean, that's just the way it was. Not that way anymore, and that's probably a good thing. You know, but still, I think it's just the family community atmosphere in Guthrie.
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you grow, you kind of lose some of that, right?
Yeah.
But that's the reason my wife and I ended up moving back to Guthrie because we didn't live in Guthrie and moved back home because we wanted to be at a place to where, you know, my children will see somebody and they'll know that they're my kids and they'll call you and you still would hope for some of that small town feel.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, like, oftentimes people will talk about coming here and they'll be like, we don't do the same thing as Oklahoma. So I was like, well, we're a small town. That's the reason we live in a small town. We don't want to have to be big city and do everything the same. And so it's one of the things that I enjoy most about
Me too.
living here is that I can just be small town.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Do you ever see the Choose Guthrie signs?
Yeah.
And when you see those Choose Guthrie signs, what do they mean to you? What do you think about?
That gives me pride.
Yeah.
You know, the people want to choose to live here, choose to work here, and choose to shop here.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and like when you said when you were younger, like going to the mall, Oklahoma City, that was a hike.
We didn't have a mall, bud. I remember when Penn Square was built, everybody was like, golly, they built that thing way out in the country. Penn Square and Quail Springs, those were the two that were built when I was young.
Yeah, now I may go to Oklahoma City 2 or 3 times in one day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where it used to be crazy to do something like that.
Well, that was a long drive.
Yeah, because it was only 55 miles per hour when I was younger on the highway.
Yeah.
Now it's 75, so that definitely makes a difference.
It does.
Yep. Gene, last question.
Okay.
If you could change anything about Guthrie America, what would you change? Positive.
I just wish that more people knew how great Guthrie was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything, but I just wish that more people knew what a great place it was to raise kids, to work, go to church.
Yeah.
It's a great place to live.
Yeah.
And I wish more people knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I'm in big agreement with you. It's one of the best. So
yeah, it is.
Not that I've lived everywhere, but I don't think it's anything any better. So
well, I've lived in a couple other places, and Guthrie's the
best. Out of those places, for sure.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this. So Guthrie has like different little coffee groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you a part of a coffee group?
No.
No, yo.
No. I meet a friend of mine, Don Reapy. I meet him every Thursday.
So you got a coffee group. This is your coffee group.
Well, that's it. He and I. No, we meet at Katie's most every Thursday morning.
Okay.
And of course, there's a bunch of people in there that we know. I know a few people here in town.
You've only done a few hundred funerals, so you're gonna know quite a few people in town. It's probably hard for you to go somewhere where you don't know somebody.
Oh, my grandkids used to get so mad. Papa, everywhere we go, somebody knows you. One short story. Stephen and I went out to spring training out at Arizona. We're out there in Phoenix, and we're watching baseball. Well, it was a Wednesday night, and they weren't playing, and so we decided we'd go to the movies. And so we're standing there in line at the movies, and I hear this, Gene the Hitting Machine. I was like, turn around. It's a guy I played softball with here in Guthrie.
Oh.
And he's working out there. And my grandson stood there, and they went, really, Papa? We're in Phoenix, Arizona, and somebody knows you. I said, now listen, guys, how many one-armed, ugly, fat guys do you know? There ain't that many of us out there. So
now, I forgot you used to play softball out there behind the hospital, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that field's named after my dad.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah, he was on the city council, and that was his mantra when he ran was, I want to get these kids a place to play ball.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
Pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you play baseball when you were younger?
Well, I wouldn't say that I played baseball. I was on the team.
Okay.
But I wasn't any good. So.
But you was the hitting machine in softball, though.
Well, that's just what he said. People think if you only got one hand and you do anything, that's really something. It really wasn't, but they thought it was. So.
What is the story behind just your situation?
I lost my hand. I was working for a ditch witch, and got my hand caught in an auger-type boring machine.
Oh.
And it chewed it up real good, and they tried to put it back together, but it didn't work. So.
How old were you at that time?
27.
Oh, wow. The process of learning to live with one arm?
I don't think it was that hard. I think it's harder for my wife and my kids than it was for me. And I'm blessed to have the wife that I have, and my kids are they're awesome. I'm just very fortunate. God has blessed me so much there.
Yeah.
That a lot of people know this. Some people don't. My dad had polio when he was 18. he was over going to school at Coyle. He had just signed a professional baseball contract with the Cleveland Indians. Never got to play. Never, ever did I ever hear him say, yeah, I signed a contract to play baseball and I didn't get to play. Poor me. Never heard him say that. Never heard him even mention it hardly. So I had a pretty good role model growing up of how to face adversity.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that would be something that most people, could have a real challenge with.
Yeah.
And I think your attitude, as long as I've known you, has never been one where I felt like I should feel sorry for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've always just been who you are and
I'm just
upbeat
Gene.
and upbeat or anything like that. And so you got that from your dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So your dad was on city council when you were?
When I was, it's after I had left Ditch Witch and all, and I had a construction company here in town for a few years, and I helped build those fields, and Dad was instrumental in that. I played softball, and so it was, we played a lot of softball, and my dad wanted to get fields built, not just for softball, but for all the kids. Mm-hmm. So he was very instrumental in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I never knew that about those softball fields, but all I remember were the Christian softball leagues. Right. Was there any other leagues, or was they all just the Christian leagues?
No.
Or church leagues, not Christian leagues, but church leagues.
We had I guess you'd call it competitive leagues that weren't church. But there was some pretty good games out there.
Yeah. Well, I remember being in some of the church leagues, and I didn't think it was very churchy.
You're probably right. And I was probably right there in the middle of
it. I'm like, wait a second, I thought this was a church league. That language and the way they're acting.
Yeah. Didn't always coincide, did
it? People can get really competitive.
Yes.
It was pretty amazing.
I think Paul and Peter were probably pretty competitive.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I bet if you were playing ball with them, they might rub your nose in it occasionally if they got the chance.
Right. Well, they had moments where they had to separate, right? Because
they did.
they couldn't get along sometimes. And, I mean, that's just some of human nature,
it is.
Right?
It is. And that, being a competitor is not a bad thing.
No.
It's when you let it get out of hand.
Right. When you don't allow that fruit of the Spirit called self-control to really keep you in control.
Yeah. I was guilty of that a few times.
Yeah. George and I were, and I feel like this is a question I can ask you. We were talking about how to read the Bible, and it's one of the things that we try to teach here, trying to make sure that people understand how to read the Bible. Here is in GuthrieAmerica is hosted in North Church, Guthrie. What are some simple ways that you would share with people on how to read the Bible?
The Bible has so many great stories.
Yeah.
I mean, great stories. And if you can get excited about reading those stories, then the other stuff will come. Mm-hmm. You gotta subject yourself to it. And when I haven't always been a good Christian person. When I first started dating my wife, I thought that church people were just hypocrites. I had a guy one time tell me a story that I thought was really appropriate. And he said that there was this farmer, and he didn't come to church, so the preacher went out to talk to him and said, hey, Farmer Johnson, how come you don't come to church? He said, because they're all just a bunch of hypocrites. And he started singling out different ones in the congregation that, well, they say this and they do this. And so the minister was like, okay. So a few days later, he went out to the farmer's house and he said, hey, I was wanting to buy a pig. would you have any pigs for sale? Well, I got the best pigs in the county. Come over here. So he said, he showed him, said, now these are top of the line right here. Yeah, those are really nice. You have any not quite so nice? He said, yeah. So he showed him several different. So finally he says, you got any runts? Yeah, I got a couple over here. Come over here and look at them. So I went over there and he said, that one right there looks about the worst, don't it? The farmer says, yes, it does. I want that one. What? I want that one. Can you load it in my truck? Yeah. So they loaded in the truck. Preacher's getting ready to drive off, and the farmer says, so, if you don't mind me asking, why'd you pick that one? He said, well, I'm going to go park my pickup on the square and say these are the kind of pigs that Farmer Johnson sells. Well, you can't do that. I've got all these good ones. He said, the church has a lot of good people, too.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, you can always pick on people that aren't quite as good as they should be.
Yeah.
And I was guilty of that when I was first started dating my wife. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought, well, I see them and they do this, and but thanks be to God, I don't see it that way anymore.
Yeah. What's your favorite story in the Bible?
Probably the prodigal son. I've been there.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you lean on that story quite a bit? Like whenever you get to,
sure.
Whenever you get to give a message, is that your go-to?
Oh, it's one of them. Yeah, I have some others, but I think that one's, most people can relate to that.
Yeah.
Because we've all messed up. We've all messed up. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Do you ever highlight the brother? Like, have you ever used that story, but really, you really want to tell the story about the brother?
Yeah.
Who?
The one who was haughty.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm not like my brother.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to the runt.
It does.
You know.
Yeah. I don't know why that story stuck with me, but I could relate to it. I think. Mm-hmm. You know. Mm-hmm. So. I'm just thankful that God didn't desert me when I was, when I was the prodigal son.
Yeah. He loved you and brought you back in.
Yeah. When I was, I made one of those deals. God, if you'll get me out of this, I promise I'll start going to church. Mm. Well, my wife had seen me do that numerous times, and I decided I was going back to church. And I was sitting there, and the minister was preaching, and I'd watch him, and whenever he'd finished preaching, the church that we were attending had a door on each side you could go out of. So I'd look and see which one he was going out of, and I'd get up and go out the other one. Mm. So he wouldn't catch me. I didn't want to. I promised God I'd go to church if he got me out of that mess, and I'm living up to my end of it. I'm coming to church. I ain't doing nothing else, Well, one day Bobby Hinkle was a good friend of mine, and one of his sayings was old Indian trick. He said, he old Indian tricked me. He started out that door and then come around this way. I was like, okay. He said, I've been trying to catch you. You're pretty quick. I said, well, yeah. So he pursued me. That minister did.
Yeah.
And his name is James Beam. You think that God doesn't have a sense of humor? He sent somebody named Jim Beam after me to bring me to church. So I was sitting there, and I tell him whenever I see him that I owe my soul to Jesus, but I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him pursuing me.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
I'll always be indebted to him for that.
Yeah. That pursuit is something that I think Jesus wants all of us to be pursuing somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he does.
He says to go make disciples in all the world.
Yeah.
In other words, go pursue people.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to pull a little hokey doke on them to catch them.
Yeah, you got to go out, go out one door and turn around, go in the other one. That's basically the story of how I came back to the church.
Okay.
He pursued me, and I told God that I would come back to church.
Yeah.
So,
have you ever had the how do I say it? Like, I think sometimes the hardest thing is sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
With people, like especially random folks.
I think you share the gospel by living a Christian life and being like Christ to people. I very seldom hit people over the head with Scripture.
Right.
I'd much rather be kind and love them and walk beside them. That's what being a Christian's all about, I think. Meeting people where they are, walking beside them and getting them where they need to be. Mm-hmm. That's what they did with me. Mm-hmm. And I'll always be grateful for that.
Yeah. That's good. You got any final words? You want to give a shout out to your wife? I need to have her on.
Just tell her I love her.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She's been through a lot and still going through a lot. She's my rock. Mm-hmm. Very thankful for her. She's having to do stuff that I know she never thought she'd have to do. Yeah. She's a trooper. Well,
this isn't a Christian podcast, but I'm going to say this less. Jesus looked at man, and what did he say?
When he looks at me, I know he's sitting up there most of the time shaking his head, so you still don't get it. Come on.
Man should not be alone. He gives us the help,
Oh, man, he does. I couldn't do it without him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very humbled.
Yeah. So
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. Again, to me, I would consider you one of the legends around here. That's when your grandkids don't want to go to eat with you because that's what happens when you go eat with legends, right?
No, I don't know.
No, I just when I think about people to have on, I want to try to have everybody, but sometimes you just got to be intentional about people who you valued the opportunity to watch their life and the work that they do, and you come to mind when I come about people.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's humbling.
And so, one of the things that I think I've appreciated about you as well is when I would be in churches that there wasn't a lot of people who looked like you would be there. And there's not a lot of people that I can say that about, but you're one of those people who you would show up in places. I'm like, okay, Gene, I see you. I see you up in here, Gene. Yeah. So just thank you for being you. Thank you for loving people well.
You bet. You bet. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your ministry.
Thank you.
You do great work.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the GuthrieAmerica podcast, where we're on a mission to have every story told of the people doing life here and who are from here. The question that I always end with is, will yours be next?